Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. The pendulum of reality swings yet again into my corner. And there is an element of disbelief. In a group of old souls, there is always this. They say it's too easy. Some will say it's too easy to fake. And so we say this to you before we begin this discussion. It's about love. That's what it's about. It always has been, and it always will be. And it's not the love that you think. There is a force in the universe even your astronomers have recognized and seen, identified, and they call it intelligent design. Because the universe itself is biased. It's biased into creativeness. It's biased in life creation. It's biased in love. There is purpose for everything. Astronomers, science, physicists, they want to see complete and total neutrality within all things, and they don't find it. And that's one of the things we want to discuss, the power that is starting to become yours in the understanding of energies around you which you have never identified as energies that specifically are what we're going to call informational. This is one of the first multi-dimensional channelings of a series, starting to explain to you in a better fashion concepts that have been misunderstood or not explained at all, in order to start you thinking about what you can do. And that is the purpose. It's a big distance between the nucleus and the electron haze. If you could go with me to the smallest of the small, you'd find an enormous amount of emptiness. Physicists will tell you that most of you are made of nothing. And it's only because they just don't see what's in the dark. And the multidimensional truth is this: between that which is the nucleus of the atom and the electron haze, it's filled with information, energy, love, and intelligent design. Difficult to explain how this manifests itself to your reality, but that is indeed the subject. So we'll start slow and easy. There it is, my friends, a rose. Imagine it. A beautiful rose. This one's red. And you don't like it. You don't like the thorns, perhaps. Maybe you don't even like the color, perhaps. And you say to yourself, I'd like it a lot better if it was a daisy. But it's a rose. Now, in single-dimensional digit thinking, or law 3D, the scenario is this: it's too bad you've got a rose when you wanted a daisy. Because it'll always be a rose, you know. And if you could look at the seed that the rose grows from and regerminates from, it'll always be a rose. Too bad about the rose, you might say. And so the consensus of thinking and the actions around it are this: it will always be a rose, therefore I will never be able to change it. Now consider for a moment a multi-dimensional scenario where the master gardener visits the seed. Imagine for a moment that the master gardener can tell that which is the seed to systemically alter the information of what it is. And so that the next time the cells start to divide, the thorns drop off. And the color changes. And maybe, even maybe, a daisy grows instead. And what would you call this? And the answer is a miracle. And that is how you define things that look out of the purview of your dimensional reality. I want you to start looking at these things differently. I want you to start seeing information that is multidimensional as energy. A tremendous amount of what you just call energy is only information. It leads us to the next phase of this teaching. For now we give you a discovery on the planet that has been made, that is being used. And the discovery is this: that you can address the cells, that is to say, the DNA portion of the human body, to change its informational structure. Not to belabor an issue, but you must remember what the scientists discovered about DNA. 5% of it is chemical, protein-encoded, gene-producing engine. 95% seems to do nothing. So what you have is this: a DNA structure, one DNA loop that has 3 billion chemicals in it, and 5% is the engine of the biological race car called the human being. And 95% is the driver. It's a consciousness. It's energy. It's information. And it's huge. And if you could change the information in those DNA parts, what would you say to them? Well, let me give you an example of something that's already been done. Let us say you're born with a deformed heart. Here is a heart that is not operating properly. The valves don't fit. And let us say that that is who you are, a red rose with thorns. And so in your reality, you're going to die sooner. You will not operate well. You may be on drugs when you're older, and you'll always have a deformed heart. You might ask the obvious question: since all of the organs rejuvenate many times over your life, why is it systemically that those stem cells are given information to continue rejuvenating a broken heart? Why does it stay deformed? And here's the answer: because the information stays static. without something to change the energy of the information within the systemic system of the human body, it will always repeat what it has. The rose will always be the rose, and the thorns will always grow there. What if you could literally change the information in the 90% of your DNA? What if you could change not only the information systemically, but even subconsciously as to who you are and why you're here? They're starting to learn how. Addressing the information energetically in DNA so that the stem cells are given a pattern of perfectness instead of the deformity. And as the heart then starts to regenerate, as all organs do, slowly it becomes a functioning heart and the valves fit. And you think that's science fiction. I'm telling you, it's being done now. For on the planet, multidimensional inventions are starting to occur. There will be many more, pushing the envelope of your believability and changing physics. You've seen this, and you don't even know you've seen it. I'll ask you some other questions that you haven't really thought about. We brought these up before, and now we can discuss them more fully. Why can a starfish grow back an arm and you cannot? Because the programming in your body, in your DNA, in the information, the race driver driving the car has been instructed that those kinds of things only are to be done in the womb. And the instructions are always that way, and they repeat every time a cell divides. There'll come a day when you can change the instructions and you'll be able to grow back a limb. All of the chemistry is there. It's not that hard. But the instructions say you can't. And so they don't grow back. Imagine the race car driver in a splendid machine that can go for so long with instructions that he can only turn left. That's what a race car driver does, you know. What if you straighten out the racetrack and suddenly you got a left-hand only driver? What happens to the driver when the racetrack straightens out and he doesn't know how to do anything but make left turns? You got to change the information that he has. And that is what is being done. When the spinal cord is severed, there is chemistry that races to the place of the severing, so it won't grow back. Did you know that? There is a hormonal proteinal structure that actually keeps it from growing back. How does that serve humanity? Well, it doesn't. Nerves are designed to grow back. And they don't. Did you know they even have addresses, color codes? They can find each other in the dark and grow back. And they don't. Because built into the race driver's information is not to grow back a spinal cord severing. There'll come a day when you can reprogram the systemicness. Stem cells exist everywhere in the human body, alive and well. They are what pattern what happens. Chemically, they are responsible for a human that is predisposed to disease. And that predisposition will be then carried to the child. And the imprint and the energy and the information of the 90% will continue and continue and continue unless it's reprogrammed. Unless the information is given to it to become different. It's not chemical, it's energy. It is multi-dimensional energy. New technology to reprogram pieces and parts of the body. Do you know what this means? There are women in the room who respond to this, who carry a gene that their ancestors carried and that they carry and that their children will carry on predispositions to certain kinds of weaknesses. And when you can rewrite your genetic print, none who follow will have it either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Your children and your children's children will only have the reprogramming. They will not have the original information. Energy is like that. Informational energy is like that. And there's a lot of it on the planet. There are systems on the planet that have been misunderstood for a long time. Let me give you a couple. This is controversial. You may not agree. You may not like it. But I'm going to give it to you anyway. Humans love things that go bump in the night. They love to be frightened. They love to be scared. They love movies that scare them. And they love haunted places. Have you seen the upsurge in the interest of haunted places? Now let me tell you what they are and why they work the way they do. And now we get into the power of the information of the Eckhart. Human consciousness carries an imprint which affects the planet. And we have told you this from the beginning, 21 years of it. Human consciousness is what is going to change the planet. Human consciousness is information. It is information that you develop based upon what you think. And it's powerful. Human consciousness actually goes into what we have called the crystalline grid of the planet, which is a multi-dimensional grid. You can't see it. It holds energy. It holds information. When the planet is measured for vibration, it is the crystalline grid that is measured. And the crystalline grid only has on it what humans have put there. An interdimensional record of thought, of lifetimes, of happenings. And here's what I'm going to tell you. In certain conditions, in certain ways, a human life or an interaction of multi-lives together in a scenario that is profound for whatever reason of its profundity will create an imprint in a place. It's information and energy that will replay itself over and over and over like a recording tape in 3D. It's a haunted house. Did you know that? And here is some of the things, the attributes that we may not prove it to your psyche, but we'll give you something to think about. Did you notice that in a haunting, you have a scenario which repeats? The man comes down the stairs. The man goes up the stairs. The woman in the kitchen moves from the left to the right, sits in a chair, rocks for a while, moves away. If it involved dramatic things such as murder, the man comes down the stairs with the axe. Over and over and over and over. It's a good movie, isn't it? And that's all it is. Why does it feel the way it feels, Kryon? Because it is a result of human consciousness imprint, and you've got one too. And when you're there interfacing with it, it gives you chills, because it's real. Now science has gotten involved, as they should, and they're noticing something. The imprint, the haunting, carries scientific attributes, and they're all multidimensional. Guess what changes? Magnetics, gravitation, light, and even time. Because what it is a multi-dimensional event imprinted onto a place on the planet that plays over and plays over and plays over. Can you capture it on tape? Because it knows it's being observed. Because it's part of an imprint that is multidimensional. In a quantum sense, it knows. I can't explain that to you. You assign knowing to sentiency, that is to say, that which is intelligent in a human being. And it isn't either of those. It's a knowing that is quantum. It knows when a human being can be frightened, and it frightens it. Oh, I have more to tell you. Oh, there are things that you wouldn't believe that you can do. How would you like to get rid of that? Let's say it's in your house. Now, this may be very inappropriate, but I'll give you the answer. You're going to have to present an energy that is stronger than the imprint of the haunting. You cannot order it away. You already knew that, didn't you? No amount of huffing and puffing or calling upon God will make it different. The imprint was created by magnificent beings, sometimes seeming to do ordinary things. There's a reason for that as well. You don't know who they were. You don't know the old souls involved. You don't know who it is, really. You've got to present an energy that is stronger than the haunting. Now, what could that be? As inappropriate as it is, I will tell you. Why don't you make love in that room? That'll do it. Because that's stronger. Anyone who's been in love in the room, and there's some secrets here that I know. Beautiful ones that I know. Knows the power and the energy of humans coming together in intimacy. And the angels sing, and you create a third energy which is more powerful than the two of you. And you know it. It's sacred. It's beautiful. And it's stronger than the haunting. Maybe you didn't want to hear that today. But what about other things? What about like demon possession and all these? And I will tell you this, it's different than you think. Because there are no demons. Humanity can conjure up the most evil of the most evil, and it can do it all by itself. And you knew that too, didn't you? Because you're powerful. The pieces in God, in you, even in your mythology, are responsible for the devil himself. A fallen angel, how can that even be? It is a metaphor of what a human can do on the earth with the energy that they have. things are not always what they seem. What about talking to the dead? And how would that work, Kryon? How could you talk to famous people when in the scheme of soul incarnation, they've already come back as others? Now, if they've already left, how can you talk to them? And the answer is this: they haven't left. Oh, the part that you think is the human left, but the imprint of them and their entire life and everything they knew, their consciousness, their wisdom, their knowledge, goes right into the crystalline grid. We've talked about this before. Can you contact famous people and get information? Yes. Will it be accurate? Of course, because you're talking to the source. The imprint remains. You mean you're not actually talking to them? You're talking to the imprint? Let me give you something to think about. I'm going to ask a question right now. It's going to be a rhetorical one. Who are you? I have old souls in front of me. There's a woman in the room who won't wear red. And you know who you are. I'll tell you why, because it got you killed. Because that was the color of the plume on your helmet, warrior. Because you were the captain, and they knew if they would take you out, your whole regiment would be in disarray, and that's what happened. Not only kill you, killed everyone around you. You'll never wear red. You just don't like the color. It's just not for you. You shun it, don't you? Old soul, who are you? Who are you? Are you the warrior who got killed? Are you the woman who won't wear red? Are you the mother? Who are you? It is a rhetorical question because in my reality, you are a piece of God. And so when you go to that place where you wish to conjure up one who has lived before and ask them questions, who are you talking to? Are you talking to the Urkosh of a soul? Are you talking to that which is alive or dead? I will tell you, none of those things are accurate because you don't really know. It's even more magnificent than that. Can you ask Aunt Martha where the treasure was buried? Yes! And she'll know, because you're talking to the Aunt Martha imprint. And she'll know. Now, if you ask Aunt Martha, how are things on the other side? She'll say, beautiful. What's it like over there? Lovely. No, give me some specifics. I love you. She doesn't know. Aunt Martha knows what Aunt Martha knows. You think of it in singularity, and it's not. It's powerful, it's real, and it's there to be accessed. It's multidimensional, and those with gifts can access the wisdom of the ancients. Go back and ask them what they knew. Go back and ask them how it felt. Go back and ask them where the treasure is buried. You're going to see some of this. And those in the places of magnificence on this planet, wearing the costumes of spirituality, and the heads of state and religion will call it evil and will call it occult, not understanding that you are moving into a multi-dimensional state, appropriate, accurate, true, usable, correct, helpful. All of those things. Does that make sense to you? Let me give you a concept, and this will be the last one. I've saved the complicated one for last. That's my favorite one. We haven't done this before, my partner, so get it right. I want to show you how time works. And I can't. Because the reality of the complexities of multidimensionality preclude the human being's ability to understand it. It's simply not teachable. So I will metaphorize it and give you it in its simplest form, which is only a fraction of its reality. Time. We mentioned today that it is a singularity for you. There's only one of them. There's no multiple times. There's only one. And you're on one track on the planet. You're all on the same track. That is a singularity. It only goes one speed. It always has for your life. It doesn't move. The truth of it is it moves all the time. Another truth you don't understand is that each of you can step off the track and create a faster or slower one. You don't know that either. How do we explain this? So let me singularize it and pretend you're all on the same track for a moment. That's what you think anyway. That's easy. And I want you to build a track, a train track, which is time. I want you to put an engine upon it which goes in one direction very slowly, and that's you and your life. I want you to make the train track, however, go all the way around the earth. Now, to your perception, because you can only see to the horizon, the train track goes straight. The truth of the matter, it goes all the way around the earth, and you're looking at it behind you. Create that kind of time for a moment. Now that puts time in a circle. Now that is confusing because it's a conundrum for you. In 3 dimensions, you cannot put time in a circle. It is in a circle. Because it's in a circle, however, take a look at some of the attributes that are confusing to you. Let us say your lifetime takes about 30 meters. Not very long on this track that goes around the earth, is it? So you never have to really worry about meeting your past, do you? But let's pretend for a moment you could. What would happen if you drove that engine around the earth? Eventually, you would be running over the energy of what used to be, wouldn't you? In the same way of thinking, if you went around the earth several times, eventually you might be also running over what might become. Suddenly you have an attribute of time you haven't thought about. If it's in a circle, it means the future affects the present. And you think the future hasn't happened yet. It hasn't in 3D. It has in a quantum sense. Now, I'm giving you information right now, and I'm giving it to you this way because there are scientists looking at it in that way. Is it possible that the future could give you energy and information now? Think of this train track for a moment, and let's get more complicated. It's got layers now. Every time the train goes around it, which is a human life, things change. What if it was humanity in that engine? Now you have the past, present, and the future of everything that's ever happened on one train track in a circle. Now you have a situation where you could stop the train, dig down in the track, and maybe if you had the ability, pick up something that either hasn't happened yet or happened before. I didn't expect you to understand it. Only listen to it. Because that's what's happening. Let's complicate it. Let's say this track has to go up some hills and down some valleys. And the hills and the valleys are always the same. If you were smart enough and had a system that understood this time, you could create bumps where it might be difficult or easy and actually put them on a map. You might even call them time fractals. And you might be right. And every time you hit that place in time, whether it was in the future or the past, you got a hill or a valley. And I want to tell you what's happening at this moment, dear human being. I just gave you the simplest way I can give you the attributes of multidimensionality when it comes to time. You are visiting potentials that in your mind have not happened, but in a quantum sense have. You are receiving a vibrational increase so that you can look at the track of time and select where you want to go. You are looking at the potentials of the quantumness of vibrational shift and creating a culture that is going to go beyond what you think it could go, because it's going to fly in the face of all prophecy. Because prophecy is based on one track that does one thing over and over in 3D. And as soon as you start to become multidimensional, information becomes energy. And in that track of time is information of the potentials. Okay, I'll tell you, nobody asked. Except the ones who are asking. It would seem like I've just turned a page, because there's someone in here who wants to know what a crop circle is. And so I'll tell you, it's a good thing you ask. It's an energy stamp from the future. How about that? Now you don't know anything more than you did before. Not a future that you went through. A future that has such a grand potential and a quantum state that is one with everything. You've already lived it. You're in an entangled state with that which you think has not happened, but which has happened so grandly, you already have peace on earth. And 21 years ago, I showed it to my partner so grandly. He can't deny it. It's his reality. And there are things in the room you can't deny, because there are realities of you putting lives together, healing bodies that you've already done. That's how grand it is. You're in an entangled state with a reality that's outside of your dimensional perception. Hard to teach, hard to understand, but easy to feel. Easy to feel. Imagine the solution is upon you. Imagine those things which you're planning already completed. Imagine yourself looking backwards and saying, "Oh, that wasn't too hard, was it?" Imagine the most perplexing things you've brought to the table today over with. How do you feel about it? And human being, if you can take a breath of release and look at it like I can, you are becoming quantum. And you've just created it. Congratulations. Now go from this place in your three-dimensional way and walk through the steps that you've already done. And that's my message. Information is energy. In a multi-dimensional state, all things are possible. You come here to listen to a thing like this. Old soul, you wouldn't have missed this. I'm not talking about this meeting. I'm talking about this life. How many times have you lived waiting for this? What do you think the wisdom factor is in your Akashic record? If you've lived and lived and lived and lived and lived, how about that track of time? How many layers does it have for you? What about going in, drilling down, and picking up the wisdom of your ancients? Because many of you are your own ancestors. It's about time you started seeing it in that way. My partner says, leave differently than you came. He got that from me. Do it. Do it. And so it is.
So in this moment, why don't you come into a meditative state, position. Get comfortable, but see if it's okay for you to have both your feet flat on the floor. Relax your hands in your lap. You can turn your palms up if you like. Just sit back in your chair and let it support you. Let your body relax. You've taken in a lot today. And this is a nice time to really bring it in, integrate it, let it percolate around in there, and do whatever it will do that you allow it to do. So take a big breath in. And gently close your eyes. And just drop down into your body and letting your breath rest softly as you inhale and exhale. And letting yourself just be in this moment soft, relaxed, present. And resting in that presence where you don't need to think or do. It's just a place to be. And in that presence of being is a place of love. And it's a little place inside of you that you can breathe into and feel it expand. Feel that nice, warm glow. And though it's fed from without by beautiful days like this and being in the presence of family, it's fed from within you, from within the cells that contain your own highest nature, your own spiritual consciousness, your own connection to the one true source. Take another breath. Feel the blessings and the bliss and the healing in the message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I would like this to be an informative channel, but I want you to relate to it. My partner steps aside so completely, he has no idea what's coming. I've given him an idea of what might be discussed. So it is not a mystery. But other than that, he doesn't know. Dear ones, I want to do something that sometimes is dangerous to logic. And what I mean by that is your logic will take over. So it's dangerous information because your logic intercedes. I don't like to give you lists. And the reason is because you always make them hierarchical. Number one is more important than number two, or reversed. Anytime anything is delivered 1, 2, 3, 4, there is a tendency with a logical brain to put one above the other because it was mentioned before the other one. So let me ask you, what other option do I have than to make a list? I cannot give you everything at once. That would be quantum. So I must give things to you one by one. I number them. So I'm going to set this up. I want to give you information that is for all old souls and light workers about those types on the planet that are working in a solution mode to solve new energy puzzles in cooperation with other light workers. In order to do that, I'm going to have to itemize what some of you are because of your Akash, what some of you are doing because you're here. I'll give you some names to consider. But I want you to think for a moment. Everything I'm going to give you is in a circle. Think of a ring for a moment. Beautiful, together, unbroken. And around the ring are attributes, numbers if you wish. And so it doesn't matter on the ring where you start or which direction you go, you'll get all the attributes, and the knowledge will be in the ring. Now, in linearity, in a straight line you call time, I'm going to have to give these things to you one at a time. But they are not more important than the next one or less important than the one before. This is where I want you to start. To understand that what I'm about to give you doesn't have any importance one above the other. It's all together. Now, I've just given you information also. It's one of the most difficult things when Spirit talks to humans, or even one human. We can only talk to you one item at a time. Sometimes you take the first item and you never listen to number 2 or 3 or 4. And your truth becomes number 1. If you were to open your heart and your mind and listen to all of them and take them all in and realize the truth is all of them, you would be a wiser spiritual person. But it is the bias of humanity that singularizes one thing at a time because of your linearity that creates what I'm about to talk about. Spiritual systems on the planet that you try to fit into normally carry what I will call a singular purpose. No matter what that spiritual system is, or what you call an organized one, or even a religion, has you looking at rules. And it's up to you then to fit into all the rules you can, obey them the best you can, and the idea is sameness of purpose. In some, you would all wear the same thing, act a certain way, meditate at a certain place, pray at a certain place, do this or that at a certain hour, bow in this direction, and all of you do it in the same way. If you take a look at any complex system on this planet or in the universe, in the galaxy, you're going to find parts doing different things. If you look at physics, parts are doing different things. They're dedicated to different energies. If you look at chemistry, profoundly, the parts are coming together in order to create other things. Everywhere you look in nature, there are parts. One supports the other. The very system of life with oxygen and carbon dioxide is made of all the parts of life that keep you alive. What if I told you suddenly all of the parts are going to dress the same and do the same thing? You'd say that's not going to be a workable solution. And you'd be right. There is an elegant system in front of you about old souls. Now let's back up. You're here for a reason, for a purpose, old soul. If you have awakened to the truth, a truth that is so big and so beautiful, it's a truth that doesn't make anybody else wrong. It's a truth that enhances all humanity. And the truth is this: God is inside you. Another truth: the energy on this planet is shifting. Another truth: old souls, those who have come and gone and come and gone and come and gone, carry great wisdom for this time on the planet. Another truth: old souls are waking up to different tasks in order to supply a solution to the new energy. So I want to talk about the various slots that you go in. Very linear. And you may recognize yourself. It's complex, so I'm going to make it simple, and I'm only going to create 5 today. Now, everything I talk about from now on, you could analyze later, and you're going to find hidden meanings in most of it, specifically in the numerology. Dear ones, I give you messages within messages so that you can study things later and see that there's more, much more, than what I present in the language of my partner. I want to give you some good news. Dear ones, there is a beautiful, beautiful system at hand right now. And you're working the puzzle and you don't even know it. Some of you question it, because you're used to the singularity of spiritual systems. Some of you will look at my partner and say, I can't do what he does, therefore, I'm not carrying the weight as an old soul that he is. You don't understand. You just don't understand. And so let this be a time for understanding. Not just understanding, celebration. There are those listening to this who need to hear this. It's easy. You all have different jobs. And the thing that drives them and puts you into that areas or slots in the circle that we want to create in the ring is your Akash. The energy of who you were and what you've done creates who you are now and what you're doing and how you feel about it. That is specifically spiritual. It can also be in 3D, what you're interested in, your talents. But we're talking about old souls and spiritual purpose, what you're doing while you're here. It is dangerous to categorize humans in any form, because the singularity of your bias is then going to carry it further. Well, I'm a this, I'm a that, therefore I'm going here, or I'm not doing this. I have to ask you to suspend all of that and just listen. I want to tell you about old souls, what they do, how they work together in the ring. The beautiful ring in a circle that's golden. It's a circle of love and creation. And the old souls and the light workers come into this planet at a perfect solution, perfect numbers, creating perfect balance. And you never even know there's a system. I want to start with my partner and those like him, I'll use terminology I haven't used before. Akashic entanglement. What do you know about the word entanglement? Very little, actually. It is a fairly new word created by your physicists. And basically it means a shared reality. If two things are entangled in physics, they both have the same reality, even if they're removed one from another in different places. It's a quantum expression. Shared reality. One who is entangled when they're Akash is sharing the reality of something that pushes on them from the past. And it's hard for them to decipher the reality of that which is earthly from the reality of that which is either in the past or on the other side of the veil. And so they are driven. Now there's a word in the universe, in the galaxy, in the solar system that is used in astrology. This is a metaphor. The word is Yod or Yod, Y-O-D. In astrology, it is an alignment of three things that is unique and special, that doesn't happen very often, that creates an energy of those born with that to be pushed and focused in an unreasonable way. They live and breathe what they think they need to do. And it comes from the Akash. It doesn't happen, dear ones, just because you're born. It happens slowly because you go into realization. You realize it. And this means that is unrealized becomes realized. It goes from the non-existent to the existent with conscious decision. In other words, if you choose not to accept some of these things, they'll never occur to you. But once you start the path of examination, they'll capture you in a good way and push you so hard that everything you do is about one thing. The category like this of Akashic entangled old souls are those who are pushed to do work. Some are channelers, some are authors, some are writers, some are speakers. And their lives are not normal. All they do in their waking hours is think about why they're here. They'll push themselves and appropriately understand the health issues they have, going to a place that is a goal till the day they take their last breath about one thing, whatever it is, singular, focused, pushed, and beautiful, because they get a lot done. Now there is a tendency. No, there's not a tendency. There's a bias. No. There's a way of thinking that looks at them and says, oh, look at that, I should do that. And this is what we want to talk about. That's one of 5 things in the ring, all supportive of each other. There must be those who have an entangled Akash in order to push this new energy forward as they do. It has to be. My partner knows this, and he's seen himself change. He now realizes this is all he's going to do. He realizes he's never going to retire. Somehow, that would be a betrayal of the Akash that says he's going to push until it's over. And he's got others just like him. That's all they want to do. They see the beauty and the splendor of the other side of the veil, and all they can do is show it and show it and show it. Tell about it, write about it, be it. That's all they want to do. One of 5 kinds of purpose, you might say. It's not a mission. Don't use the word mission. Suddenly you're on a military mission. It's not this. It's entanglement with all it is that is sacred and spiritual and Akashic. He's done this before. That's Akashic entanglement. He is comfortable with it now. And it's all he wants to do. That's number 1. What is a 1 in numerology? It is new beginnings. That is the whole purpose of those who are pushed by Akashic entanglement. They're so focused. Everything they do, everywhere they go, it's a beginning. They don't end anything. It's never complete. It's always new. Number 1. Number 2 is similar. Partially entangled Akash. Ones who don't have quite the push, but they still feel as though they do. But they're a little more relaxed with it. It's okay to retire. They feel they have a purpose on the planet. Now these, number 2, deal with duality. And they deal with the human body. They are the healers. They are the ones who are looking for solutions that'll support number 1. Because number 1 tends to overdo it. He needs number 2 to heal. They're system workers. They've got it figured out. They come up with the systems that help humanity. They're focused too. They've got a partially entangled Akash. They can remember, they've been healers before. They can remember the systems that they're working on they've used before. They are so sure of it. They want to write about it. They want to teach about it. It's so obvious. Layers and phases. And what it does is it ends up being a piece of the puzzle of the whole. But specifically, it helps number 1. It's a support group for humanity and number 1. Number 1 would push themselves without eating, unless they had somebody to tell them to eat. Number 2 would develop what to eat. There is a beautiful system of helping. It's like a Swiss clock where one notch fits in the other. The thing that ties these together, and I'm telling you even before I give you the rest of them, the thing that ties all this together is synchronicity. When I'm done and finished today, I will have given you 5 types. It's a tendency for you to say, which type am I? Did I tell you you could be 2 or 3 of the same? Did I tell you there's a crossover? Did I tell you there are gray areas? Did I tell you it was quantum? Don't try to fit yourself into these. Just know they exist, and they will fit to some degree. But understand this. Some of you have already experienced the synchronicity of being here, of listening, and understand you're part of the mechanism of this beautiful clock that moves around in your own time and fits. One fits to the other because you all support one another. Just wait till I tell you about number 3. 3 is the catalytic number. It moves things. The very existence of number 3 is catalytic to anything that comes in contact with it. A catalyst is something that stays the same, but changes what it comes in contact with. I'll tell you who these are. These are the meditators of the planet. And their Akash, their Akash is so comfortable because they can sit and meditate for days and they will come out refreshed. They will sit in one position. What are they doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're holding the energy of all the others together because their consciousness is steady. It's quiet. It's beautiful. It sets a stage that all the others feel. I want to tell you about this clock, this ring, that when number 1 comes to frustration, number 3 is part of him. He feels number 3. The meditative side is not part of number 1 at all. Push, push, go. And number 3 then takes it to another level. In a quantum way, shares it with number 1 and number 2. And they have peace and they relax. And they know all is well. Because number 3 is here doing their job. Number 3 has had lifetimes of being monks all over the planet to sit and just be. There is so much power there. And as a light worker, have you ever, my partner listened to this, have you ever looked at number 3 and said, how can they do that? It's not for me. They just sit there. Now you know. They just sit there and steady the planet. They steady all of the other numbers because they absorb them in such a way. Now, I didn't say they were grounders, did I? That's coming. They're meditators. They create a peaceful countenance and they're catalytic. Whatever comes their way is more peaceful because of it. You got some here. You can just tell who they are. Number 1 and number 2 need number 3 desperately. But number 3 also needs number 1 and number 2 because just sitting there doesn't accomplish what number 1 will do. Are you starting to understand the circle? Does it make sense to you that there would be a system where old souls do different things for this planet to make it work? Not all in one uniform, not in all one gender, not all in one doctrine or belief system, not bowing a certain way or doing the same thing, not singing the same song. Totally, completely unique and different and fitting together like a fine Swiss clock. Number 4. What do you think number 4 is? If you've been numerologically educated, number 4 is the Gaia number. Have you ever heard me tell you before that Gaia is related to human consciousness? That what happens that you call the planet Earth is connected to you profoundly. If you ask the ancestors, the ancients, it's the first thing they knew. It had to be Gaia. There was no technology. Gaia gave them their food in certain ways, the weather. All of these things, that was the most important thing they had, Gaia. You've lost that. The connection is not as important, but it is. Let me tell you about number 4. Some of them don't even know they're light workers. They just know they're connected to the earth. But they're passionately connected to the earth. You can't pry them off a tree when they're hugging it. They need to be part of Gaia all the time. Question: dear Kryon, you're going to give us these phases, these parts, these compartments. Can someone change one compartment and be in the next compartment in one lifetime? Humans, why do you do this? Yes, you can do whatever you want to. Now, I want you to think about that. Can a number 3 become a number 4? Can number 5, which you've never even heard of, become a number 1? The system is in a circle. Of course you can. There are ways for you to pick up energies, to learn things, to move around. So it is dynamic. And that's the other thing that you're not going to carry around with you. As soon as I itemize something and you put yourself in there, it's forever. It isn't. Like you get in a box and shut the door. No. You're part of the circle. You move with it. You know who number 4 is also? An animal whisperer. An animal lover. Someone who can literally speak to that which is the consciousness of animals or understand them. One who will then talk to the plants and actually feel the plants have something to say. They love the planet. That's number 4. Now, if you're number 3 and you're contemplating your navel for 3 days, you're not going to really understand the gardener who gets up very early and plants things and loves it, just loves it. But if you're in a circle working together and you're intermingled, maybe even entangled a little, then you're all helping one another and you all have a piece of your specialty. Did you hear that? It's part of a grand system. The animal whisperer is whispering for number 1 and 2 and 3. And 3 may not hear it or know it, or 2 or 1. But it's happening. It needs to be. Because human consciousness is connected in quantum ways, not isolated. You think you have one soul doing one thing? My partner showed you today that the confluence of consciousness is what moves things. Not 1, not 2, not 3. It's a confluence. It's mixed together. If I'm telling you there's a ring of workers that help one another because they intermingle their consciousness, but they have specialties, that is you. But when you put it all together, it creates things. This is what a quantum system is like. Made of many parts that mix with the other parts, and some of you don't even know you're mixing. It just is. You get help from those who are meditating. If you're not a meditator, they become part of you. The whole is stronger than the parts because of it. That was number 4. Oh, there are so many 4s. It calls to you. Some humans never move off the peg of the love of the planet Earth, and they won't even call themselves an old soul. They're just an earth worker. They don't even know about their Akash. They just know for some reason all they want to do is be with nature and the animals. That's all they want to do. Never realizing that it's shared with number 3 and shared with number 2. And the one who's working on systems and working on systems is also hugging the tree. And that Gaia is felt in all the departments because of number 4. That peace is felt in number 4 because of number 3. Because the one is doing the work and sitting there for hours and hours still and meditating and peaceful for the rest of them. For the number 1 who's going out and pushing and pushing and pushing, it's to change the planet for the rest of them. You're beautiful. Number 5. is the last one for now. Change. Who is the biggest changer of the planet? Well, it has to be number one. It isn't. Number one, she does her job, he does her job in ways that's so focused and pinpointed that it's going to take years to make a difference. And then only to certain people. No. It's number 5 that makes the biggest difference. Number 5 has more old souls in it than any other department. I'll call them the anchorers. They anchor number 1, 2, 3, and 4. What good does it do to hug a tree all your life? Who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to help? The answer is all the rest of them, because of your relationship to the planet. Do you see how this works? Now, number 5 is going to anchor number 4, especially number 3, who would float away if there weren't an anchor. And number 1, who doesn't even want to stop to smell the roses. Number 5 is the old soul who goes about their life without writing a book, without being on stage, without doing anything important, quote unquote, as you perceive importance, not understanding that they are walking like the masters walk day by day on this planet and spreading compassionate action. Compassion, the key word, we've used it over and over, is that which this planet needs to change. And by your actions and those who see you, this planet moves. Every day you go to work, you have friends, you have family. How do you treat them? How do you act on the freeways? How do you act in the hallway? Is it compassionate? Do you see God in others? That is an anchorer. It does more to help this planet, and number 1 through number 4, than any of them together. The anchorer is the compassion that this planet needs so that all the others can work. You all need what you all carry. Who are you? Maybe you're a combination of several. It's okay. Because they're not singular. I put them in 5 compartments. Now I'm going to tear off the walls of the compartments and mix 1 through 5 together in a blender. That's quantum. You don't really understand that. But now you know that there is a system. That's why there are so many varied interests, and you can say, which one are you, or what are you doing, not understanding. You're doing everything. You're supporting all the others. Number 5, I want you to listen to this. What you're doing by simply walking this planet in a compassionate way is critical. Without this, 1 through 4 won't accomplish anything. Number 1 can pound the message home to an uncompassionate earth, and it won't matter at all. Number 2 can have systems and healing to an uncompassionate earth, and nobody's going to hear it. Number 3 is going to sit and ohm for years, and it won't do a bit of good to an uncompassionate earth. Number 4 can hug all the trees they want to and be connected with Gaia, but unless there's a compassionate consciousness on this planet, nothing will change. Number 5, it seems like I'm saying you're most important. Not really. You're just important. When you leave this place, think about this. Every action of kindness and compassion you have that is outside of the human nature that you've studied and said was correct, or that you learned in psychology, everything you do that is compassionate changes those around you. You're noticed. People notice because that's not the norm. Have you seen the television programs that those who market television programs in an old energy think you want to watch? Let's tune in and watch families argue. As though you didn't have that already. You have to have some more. How about a program? Let's tune in and watch compassionate things happen.
Let's watch people being nice to each other, and victories happen, and tears of joy and compassion because people love each other and do things that they didn't expect. That those most benevolent outcomes. What kind of a program? Would it work? It will someday. If you look at the marketing of today and what's happening today, you see an old energy. It's still there. That's why you stick out when you're compassionate. People don't expect it. You're standing in line and you see a stranger who has to do something before you because of their schedule, and you move away and you say, "Come on, get in here." And they look at you and go, "Are you real?" That's a small little compassionate thing because you're looking to see the needs of others, comparing them to the needs of yourself, realizing what you can do for a most benevolent outcome and help their synchronicity. That's mastery. That's mastery. Number 5. Dear ones, this is the way humans work. A system put together of old souls and workers of the light, where everyone plays their own specific part, maybe 2 roles, not just one, into a confluence of energy that works this puzzle in a beautiful golden ring. You don't all wear the same outfit. You don't face the same direction. You don't speak the same language. You don't even know each other. And this is what's going to change the planet. This is just the beginning. There's more. But the premise is clear. That everyone has their niche depending upon who they are, how long they've lived, what their feeling is that which they're supposed to do. It starts to explain, perhaps, some of you who feel called in one direction and not another, and are beating yourselves up psychologically because you don't think you measure up to your neighbor who's doing something you think is important. That I want you to change right now, because God sees you all the same, working the puzzle the same. Leave this place differently than you came, with knowledge that is uplifting and a change of attitude about what might be happening to you. That's enough for today. I am Kryon, in love with humanity. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
So once again, as we gather after from session to session through the morning, we bring ourselves again to a space of group coherence together, creating a new energy just with this group. You know, no group is ever the same whenever they meet in this fashion. This group will never be like this again. So just feel into that. Feel into the energy of all of us together. Take a deep, slow, conscious breath. We take so many breaths throughout the day, but rarely we take them consciously. So this is another moment we can practice that in a strong, old souls, coherent group, bringing in more of our divine energies, more of our light beingness, more of our multi-dimensional energy, whatever it is for you, which is beyond words.
To come into the state of empowerment for each and every one of you. And the pattern now shows you each have talents, skills, and abilities. We spoke of this the other day. New group, new talents, skills, abilities. But what has been encouraged is this age of cooperation, to learn how to bring together that which each one of you has as the unique expression of who you are, to complement one another. For in this time, you then open new knowledge, new ways of being, new ways of co-creating that were not available to you before. Does this ring true? It will take a little practice, but you will start to find more and more co-creators. Be willing to honor one another in your truth. Be willing to grow in that which you have to give, in harmony and commitment, integrity, all those wonderful attributes of mastery. And another pattern that you hold nice and strong is the balance, the honoring, the feminine divine honoring the masculine divine, the balance within masculine, feminine, the integration of shades of light, the wholeness of your intellect and intuition. You have the message, yes? And this too opens up so that you may decide when and how you express more of who you are. It's one thing to say, I am a wise, wholehearted, multidimensional being. It is another thing to know when to be still, when to take action, and when to live it. Yes? Enjoy, excitement, discovery, adventure. Finally, the time you have come for is here. Looks a little messy in the moment, but stay strong. Stay strong, for you are calibrating into new levels of wholeness, and your very presence will inspire and awaken. How delightful is that? Even as you continue to inspire and awaken yourself. We have a message we gave the other day, and we wish to give it again today. You have built beautifully. You have already been building. You have built on love. Continue to grow in your ability to build in the energy of infinite love. And with it, we want to tell you, as we told the other group, there is time. There is time. One step at a time. And every once in a while, a quantum leap. One step at a time. And every once in a while, a quantum leap. Yes? Ah. And so it is that we say to each one of you, in the energy of infinite love. A joy to remind you you are loved greatly and with all sincerity to invite you to love greatly. Do you accept that invitation? We are pleased. Together, let's affirm, all is well. All is well. All is well.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I am aware, Spirit is aware, of all those who are here. Also aware we are of the season that is upon you. That some of you will say just passed, and yet it will come again. A combination of All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day. This is the Halloween channel. I will title this channel Things That Go Bump in the Night. Reality, dear ones, for you is odd because it's based only upon what you perceive. It's almost like a statement that every human says, that says, I am in a box, and in this box there are things that I perceive, therefore there is nothing else. Indeed, there will be those who would never be caught in this room or listening to this message because they say it is not real. They'll say it is not my reality. I cannot understand it. It talks about things I cannot see or touch. That's a statement that says, I will stay in a box. There have been some interesting questions about reality. If someone starts to say, well, I only will adhere to what I can touch and what I can see, then you say, well, explain gravity. It's invisible. And they say, yes, but we can measure it, so it exists. Explains the magnetic field, invisible. Yes, but we can measure it, so it exists. Tell me then about love. And they will say, we're not answering any more questions. If you start to begin to challenge that which is seeable and feelable, touchable, there are many who do not wish to speak to you any longer. There is an interesting question. I would like to answer it as fully as I can about multiple realities. And it goes like this. Is it possible that there is another me in another dimension doing the same thing I am here on another earth at another seemingly time, but simultaneously? You've heard that. And it's such a common question that there has to be something that would make you ask it. This very thing has been asked in physics books as well. Is it possible that there are multiple Earths in multiple dimensions doing the same thing? Are you then existing in many places at the same time, on many Earths? I'm going to give you the answer, but the answer may confuse you until I try to then put it together. The answer is yes. Did that surprise you? But all of those multiple Earths and multiple yous are happening simultaneous right here. What it is you are in a multi-dimensional reality existence. Therefore, what is real to one person as they awake and have more awareness, they're able to see more things. They move into the next dimensional reality on another earth in that dimension, but here. So it's all happening at the same time. This explains why there are so many who only see a certain reality, and there are others whose reality is expanded so much more. They are in another dimensional reality at the same simultaneous time of everyone else. You can have so many paths, but indeed, there are humans seeing things, experiencing things, going into that which is so esoteric, you might say, but knowing it is so real. Or sometimes even the angels will show themselves where joy is there and love is there, existing simultaneously to one who sees none of that. They're together in different dimensions in the same place. There was a man named Woe. We call him a woe man. He could be both genders. We call him a man for the parable you're about to hear, for convenience. Woe was a spiritual man, very spiritual. Typically in his culture, he went to his organizational building. He believed in God. He believed in the love of God. He believed in a prophet who represented the love of God. So many do. Woe wanted so much to see that which was more spiritual in his life. And he would pray directly and through his prophet daily. And he would say, please, dear God, show me more. I want so much more in my life. I would like to feel the essence of Spirit, touch the face of God. I want to know so much more. That was his prayer. And God heard it. It started one night when Woe started to be awakened at 3:30. And his eyes would bang open and he wondered what was happening. And he would look around his dark bedroom and he had no idea what was there. But Woe was afraid. Now we stop the parable for a moment to ask the question, why, human being, is it that if it's not in your reality, you fear it? If it's not in your reality, you fear it. Think of this. It's a program, dear ones. And Woe had that program. From birth, he was told, these things exist, other things do not. And if it happens a certain way at a certain time, it has to be evil. And Woe was afraid. What is it that is waking me up at 3:30? And he'd look around the dark bedroom and he'd see things and they'd become other things. The clothes on the chair would become some kind of a monster. And he was afraid. And it happened the next night. And it happened the next night. And Woe said, okay, it's time to turn on the lights. I will now sleep with the lights on. A week later, the lights started blinking at 3:30. He awoken to the lights blinking. He said, this is not possible. Something's wrong here. I'm now more afraid than I ever was before. There's a presence in this room, and I don't know what it is. Woe set up a video camera to see if he was imagining things, and sure enough, the video camera saw blinking. The lights were blinking at 3:30. Woe didn't tell many people. He didn't want them to think perhaps something was wrong in his bedroom. But he knew there was. A few weeks later, not only did he continue to be awakened at 3:30 with the lights blinking, but he also started hearing some kind of hum. And he knew his room was haunted. It continued and it continued, and he was very afraid. So he did something else. He said, okay, I'm going to move to a hotel. I must get some sleep. I'm going to move to the hotel. And he went to the hotel, and he went to sleep, and at 3:30 he was awakened with blinking lights. Then he knew he had a ghost. A ghost was chasing him. No matter where he would go, the ghost would go. He went back to his house understanding and knowing that he could not escape it unless, of course, he could have it exorcised. So he called the ones who could make peace in his room and take away all the negativity. Get that ghost out of there, make it so it would not be haunted at all. And they came and they did ritual and they did all manner of things, including clearing. He was very peaceful. Now he had the authorities doing that. All of those who were very spiritual. Thank you, God, for chasing away the negativity in this room, and all the things that were evil are gone. Thank you. He went to bed. I woke up with blinking lights. This was the story of a man who was trying so hard to understand the things around him, and he never really achieved what he wanted to. Woe's story, his narrative, his reality, was so programmed into him, he never understood truly what was happening, and he was constantly afraid. As the story has it, Woe lived a life, a good one. He was a good man. He never achieved what he really wanted to. He never understood what was going on, and he felt his life was haunted. He passed over onto the other side. He had this magnificent party. Magnificent. He felt the love of spirit. He knew he was with family, and met an angel. And Woe said to the angel, I never really understood what was going on the planet. Help me to understand why it is I would pray for the most spiritual things. I would want the love of God. I wanted to touch the face of my prophet and all these things, and all I got was a ghost. And the angel said, Whoa. I woke you up at 3:30. And then when that doesn't work, I started blinking the lights. And when that doesn't work, I sang to you. When that didn't work, I even gave you some lights on the ceiling that you never understood. We were there for you all the time. And Woe had no idea. He made an arrangement with the angel. He said, when I come back in my next life, my plan is to understand the things that go bump in the night. My plan is to understand, to recognize these things that were outside of my reality and see them for what they were. Dear ones, how much of this simple, funny little parable might be the reality in your life? You are programmed to be afraid of what you don't understand. All of you, at some level, are programmed not to understand anything beyond your reality. And so when Spirit starts to flood in, do you feel fear? When Spirit starts to do anything else that might be the answer to what you've asked for, do you push it away in a subconscious way because you're not ready for something you don't fully see or know about or think is possible? Do you limit yourself in a box and say, this is what I believe? Do you at some level exclude the miracles that want to be in your life? Now that's a question to ponder, is it not? And that's what this is about. I'd like to tell you something. The Creator of the universe sits on you with an unimaginable love and caring, and wants to have you achieve absolutely everything you need to live a long, peaceful, loving life. And that's the truth. And if you're not receiving that, that's because you are stopping it with something in your imagination. The ghost of your own making, the fear that you learned that isn't so. Right now, you might even affirm, Dear Spirit, let all things inappropriate in my life start to dissipate so that I can see the light that is there for me. Let all the things that might create fear in my life because I truly am afraid or don't understand, let them start to crumble in a way that I'll see it crumble and feel better daily, so that at some level I'll leave here differently than I ever came, leaving this city differently than I ever came, and know that something happened. Old soul, this is your legacy, to go beyond the reality that you think is yours, to go beyond that anyone told you is possible. That's why you're here. You sit in a chair and you knew it before you came to the planet. You awakened to something you didn't expect. Now let's get it together. It's why I came to this planet 32 years ago, and why this work has then been pointed to this moment in this time, to heal old souls of things that go bump in the night. I'm crying in love with humanity. And so it is.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. It has been mentioned that there are those who are unseen that know who you are, who are here. And I mean here. If you're a visitor listening to this later, here means here for you as well. This is a sacred space that you have decided to listen to. And if you continue listening, all of the energies that are in this room at the moment are yours as well. Humans, everyone, respected, honored, everyone. There is an entourage that doesn't just accompany me. It's an entourage that is developed from the various soul energies in the room. An entourage that comes to watch, honor, sometimes seemingly sit in your lap, knock on your nose, just to say, we're here, we're here, we're here. Years ago I said it, you're never alone. We mean this. It's impossible. Because of the system that is spiritual. The system, if you wish, of God. You come to a place and you finally understand and realize, number one, you're part of the system. Number two, you're here temporarily. This soul journeying that you do, you're here temporarily until the next journey in the next life, same soul. And so, dear ones, we're looking at ancients among you. And there is so much honor that you made it, that you've come, that you're here. Inside you, human being, right now, there is an active record of everything you've ever done on this planet. Everything. It lands eventually in your DNA. As you reincarnate, the last lifetime is then included, and you come in with that, fresh. Everything that you have ever experienced is there. And as we've taught before, it's not a linear representation as you would get in a book. The Akashic record is not about the activities of a human. It's about the energies. What was it like for you? Short lifetimes, long ones, various places of the planet, different cultures, different faces, different languages, different food. What was it like to be in the wars, to be a warrior and kill others, to be on the battlefield and be killed. All of you were. All of you. What's it like to be drowned? So many of you were. What's it like to lose children? And you would say that must be awful. It is. It still is. But when you come into a planet where every other child lives, you don't even name them till they're 3 months old. What's it like? What's it like to wake up and realize that you have information as an old soul that goes against that which is taught about God? Do you shut up or do you not? What's it like to be ostracized away from anyone else in the village, to live alone and only be kept alive because you have the magic, they think, because you have the intuition to keep them alive, perhaps some potions, some information from Gaia and the earth to heal those around you. This is your life. This is who I talk to, old soul. What's it like for me to tell you there are civilizations you lived in you have no idea about? And yet your Akash carries them all. And the information that is in this multidimensional space of storage within every single human listening now, that information is profound with energy. What kind of energy is it? Well, it's remembered things. We've talking about this before. We've said the difference between the Akashic Records reaction and what it means 10 years ago and today is vastly different. That's what's changing. In an older energy, the Akashic Record comes up and it then gives you information of remembrance, and sometimes it's difficult. Why would that be? Kryon, why is the Akash so disturbing to some that we have to have readers help us to dismiss certain things in our memory? Keeps us awake at night. It's difficult to work with. Why would that be? What kind of a system does that? And here's the answer. It's a system of free choice. As goes the consciousness of the human being, goes the consciousness of remembrance of the Akash. You remember dramatic things. Things that go bump in the night. Things that you don't want to remember. Feelings you can't explain. That's been the way of it. Until now. Last week we gave you information and exercise, words if you wish, and reminded you of the power you have over your own body, and in this energy, the appropriateness of reframing the Akash. Demanding in your own words that the Akash stop remembering the negativity and the drama and start remembering the beauty. Remembering the good times. What it felt like for all of you as a woman to give birth. What it felt like for all of you as a man to watch it. The pride, the joy, the overwhelming beauty, the benevolence. It's there. It's all there. To command your Akash to stop with the old energy programs, the tapes that play, and instead give you something you didn't expect. Beautiful memories. It changes that residual buzzing in the background. We told you that. Now, where does it go from here? It may seem like we're going to skip around, but I'm going to tell you what has happened to the Akash, what it became. Now, the Akash has never changed, but human beings saw it and rewrote the rules. I'll tell you about that. So you have a bit of an understanding about the buzz that some of you have. But not before an update. There are those listening to this now who were there last week. There are those who not only participated in the exercise, but will listen to the channel and participate again. Those who have never heard of it will hear it the first time and participate. There will be thousands who will participate. There will be some who feel something, as I said. There will be some who don't. Because timing is everything. You are unique on this planet. There is never a time when we give you information of one esoteric pill does one thing for everybody. Doesn't. It doesn't. Some of you must work at it and work into it, must do it a number of times if you wish. Although I'll tell you, the body hears it the first time. Oh, it hears it. Hears it and starts working on it, even though you don't think it does. Here's an update. There are some of you, not necessarily in this audience, but the ones hearing me now, who've had some interesting dreams all of a sudden. A dream that would put you back into circumstances that were uncomfortable. Circumstances that made you less than. Putting you back into a time when there was betrayal. Putting you back into uncomfortable work situations or things that happened. And you're put back in the dream, and there they are happening again. And you wake up in the morning and you'll say, this isn't really what I had hoped for. And now I have what they call a bad taste in my mouth for the whole day because that dream was so real. I didn't need to go back and feel that all again. Oh, yes, you did. And here's why, because that was your closure. You had to go back. You had to look it in the face. Sometimes there are things you never wanted to look at. Some of you are not done yet. This is the Akashic record at its best. It's the Akashic record for this lifetime at its best. Things that have happened to you that you go back and revisit. In the Akash, a drowning, a death, or a time perhaps on the battlefield where you took a life and it stuck with you for ages, and suddenly here comes the dream and you just feel awful. You'll say, I just killed somebody and I feel it all over. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. I couldn't do that, but I did it. I can feel it. Or I was just killed. Or I drowned. Whatever it was. Then you'll wonder, what is the appropriateness of that? I'll tell you, it's a closure. It means it's gone. That's what it means. And if you're one who had one of those dreams, congratulations. It's working. Do you see how this works? It's working. You have to go there because you didn't want to face it. Even in a dream. You have to go there and be uncomfortable for a moment in a dream. Doesn't hurt you. But for those moments, the Akash is working with you to say, in order to dismiss this, you got to look at it. And you are, many of you. And in the looking at it, there is full and complete clearing. It's not coming back. Not coming back. This is the power you have today, and we talked about it last week. I want to talk about the Akash. It's beautiful. What a system. It's a system of remembrance. Can you imagine opening an Akashic book with one page? One page is everything you've ever done. Because it's multidimensional, the one page is thousands of volumes of energy that are multidimensional. They come flying out. They go all over the walls and the ceiling. They're not in order. They don't have to be. And you look at the ones that are different colors because they have different energies. Can you imagine going back and seeing who you were, what you've accomplished? Do you think that there's a measurement in the Akashic record, not of horror, but of beauty? Do you think there's a measurement of wisdom? How much did you learn? And how would you like to have that presented to you today? So that you can walk from place to place and not make the same mistakes. So you can know when someone's telling you the truth. When you can feel when you get up in the morning a benevolence that says, this is a good day. It's a good day because I'm here. It's a good day because the sacredness in me sees the sacredness in Gaia. It's a good day because I know my ancestors. It's a good day because those who interface with me today will also feel it. And it may be as simple as you and your children, they'll feel it. You and somebody at work, they'll feel it. This is the difference between human beings who are always affected by the noise, the buzz, that in the Akash, which is always there, that has always kept you away from the magnificence that you deserve. And we dealt with it last week. I'll tell you what happened in history. The Akashic record has been with you since the seeding of the Pleiadians. When you started receiving the sacred information from the very, very top, either original or you got it from an ancestor. And you started to awaken with spiritual knowledge. The old souls of this planet have always had it. You are the ones that hold this information. It's beautiful. And it's simple. You came from the stars. You came from that which is God. You're seen by God as beautiful. And the God that you were introduced to, the Spirit, if you wish, the creative source, if you wish, was so far above any consciousness that you have ever seen on this planet that you can't describe it. Pure love. Pure love. Shining brighter than anything you can ever imagine. All it is pure love and compassion. So beautiful that when you return to the other side of the veil, you're part of it. You wash in the beauty of the song that plays that makes your heart sing with it. That's God. I can't even give you anything bigger. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't understand it. That's God. Human beings began to evolve. Systems started. One of the first systems in this civilization you call Hinduism. We have spoken of this even in India, where we, for the first time, revealed things. This was the original system approach, later becoming that with Buddha. But it featured something. The Hindu system was profitless, right to the source. You didn't go through anyone. Nobody had to do anything. There was an acknowledgement of oneness with everything. There still is today. But the Akashic record developed into something different. Enter karma. Karma is a direct derivative of the Akashic energy. Things that happen to you that then lay energy in certain ways that invite you to clear them. And the system would invite you to clean up that which you didn't want and work with other entities of Hinduism that would help you clear negativity to the point where you did not have the karma anymore. You could clear it. You could go to a place where you were in full enlightenment because you did not have any more karma. Now, dear ones, do you find that interesting that that's exactly what we did last week? It was a system of clearing the Akash. It is there yet today. When I arrived, one of the first things I taught you is that karma worked then, it's no longer needed. You don't have to remember any of these things. It's automatic karmic clearing is automatic Akashic clearing. We told you, you don't need to be pushed around by any energies. At this point in your life, in the spiritual system, karma is no longer needed. That's controversial. But look at who you are today. You're coming in with full knowledge. You don't need things to push and pull you around to learn lessons. You're beyond that. And you come in clean, ready to go to work with that bracelet on we talked about this morning. You've got other things to do besides work with karma. Even this day, there are those who say, what do I do about the karma? Even after I've said, you don't have it. You don't have to worry about it. There are those who will argue. I want you just to look at yourself, say, do I need it? Really? At this point in my spirituality as an old soul in this new energy, does it hurt me or help me? Does it hinder my path? Does it enhance me? You make up your own mind. Don't you find it interesting that it was converted into a system that then became karmic? Now, what happens next is really, really interesting. Because now certain systems, over thousands of years, begin to morph the whole idea. I want to introduce you to the human concept of sin. Now you have something where you start humanizing the system. Humanizing is the word we mean that you reduce all of the parts of the system to fit within what you are, to be that which is human nature. As long ago as you wish, as the Greeks, before sin, they made their gods dysfunctional in order for the mythology of punishment to start. That then graduates and graduates, and finally you have a God who looks at you and judges you for your behavior. Sin is supposed to be defined as anything that displeases God. And I have something to tell you that you may or may not grasp at this point. God is not a human. There is nothing like displeasing, pleasing with the creative source of the universe. It's pure love. It doesn't think like you do. It doesn't have the constructs like you do. There is not even the beginning of a consciousness that would even be close to what you have. Not even close. And yet, you have developed a system, a beautiful love of God, and at the same time, you've made God a bad father. Would any of you take a child, no matter what they've done, and throw them into a place where they're going to be burned alive for eternity? Which one of you parents will raise your hand and say, well, yeah, they've done some bad stuff, that's what they deserve? And there's not one of you. There's not one of you. And yet you place that on the creative source. Yep, that sure is the way God works, you say. No, it isn't. The entire construct of sin and punishment developed completely and totally from the human mind. A human being's construct put upon the Almighty, creator of the universe. Does not work that way. There were no wars in heaven. And all of this literally coming from the Akashic record. Because the Akashic record has certain energies that when you morph these systems will create guilt. Now you are sorry for what you did that you feel in your Akashic record. It's getting worse, isn't it? Now you sit there and you don't know what to think. If God is real, is God displeased with who I am? I had a dream the other night. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm quite sure I did something wrong. That's why I had the dream. I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm not doing this or that right or wrong. Never understanding at that moment in time. This is a derivative of that which is your Akashic record. The energies of your record literally were then converted into karma, then converted into sin and punishment. All these same reactions and feelings then getting lower and lower in a consciousness state to bring you to your knees, human being, where you're afraid of God. Afraid. There's an oxymoron here. It doesn't even make sense that you would bring yourself to a place where you would fear that which was inside you, which is the most benevolent, gorgeous, loving thing that ever could be there. Talked into it, trained into it. This may offend some. That is not the purpose. The purpose is to reveal and enlighten, to open the box, to unseal a grander truth, that there is no judgment, the God that created you out of love. Where is it going next? What's going to happen? Revelation on the planet? Compassion is coming? Reframing and rewriting some of these things that I've just told you. That's what's going to happen. I know this because I've seen it before. I bring you this history to show you where this has come from, what has become it. These wonderful secrets that you had, literally, as a Lemurian, some of you, from the original teaching wheel, had to go underground, not be taught, only be kept. Secret societies you think today are conspiracies. They're only ones who have kept the secrets of what you learned in Lemuria. And in this new energy, they're starting to pop out. You're going to see organizations start to reveal what they know, and they're going to be Metaphysics 101. You're going to start creating organizations yourself to teach these things openly, not in secret. And I remind you, it's one of the first times you've been able to do this without something coming after you or being shut down or worse. There are some who are still afraid to come out of the closet light workers. They don't want to come out of the closet because the last time they did it was awful. And now it won't be. Now I'm going to give you another concept just to make it really confusing. If you're going to become a bit more multidimensional, dear ones, you're going to now have to deal with a different kind of attribute in your Akash. Stand by. So let me reveal, again, the summary, that in this new energy, as bad as it has become, the systems that gave you these things will start to be more enlightened in their approach. They will start to see that it's not commensurate with the love they teach. There will be a lightening of the load. Rules will change slightly, as they have over the eons and decades. It'll start happening again. There will be a return to one of the original ideas that God is inside of every single human. And the respect of that will be seen as primary, no matter who they are or what they believe. That's what they'll have in common. This starts a world that will pull itself out of where they are and have no more war. That's the summary. Now let me tell you something you need to deal with. There is the idea, this train of time you're on is going to create a train which is completely then enlightened, beautiful, clean, clear, ready to move forward in the light with brand new information. Now here, I'm going to tell you something because there will be those who will ask this later when that doesn't happen for them. This is accelerated, advanced information about your Akashic record that you will have to deal with in the ways that you will have presented to you, and also we will talk about in the future. Time is in a circle. Always has been. Time is in a circle. Imagine a railroad track. You are on that track as a train, as a human being, a human train, and you are chugging along on that train. You can go as fast as you or slow as you want, but the train doesn't back up. It always goes into the future. That track is always ahead of you, and what's behind you is what you've done. Now that's how you see it. Now I want you to add a little wrinkle to that. That track goes all around the planet. Forget for a moment that you can't put a track on the ocean. Just pretend. And then that means that eventually your future becomes your past. Are you with me so far? Because you're going to start running over the same track in front of you that is your past. And what is it exactly in your past? It's etched in stone in your Akashic record. And whether it includes one civilization or two, it doesn't matter. The concept is this: you're going to meet your Akash in the future. Some of you won't understand what it is and consider that everything you've done has failed because here it is again. Others of you will recognize that, aha, this is a fractal in time. It is laying on the track because the track remembers what happened. And instead of me absorbing it and taking it on and having to do all this again, we're going to clear it as we go. We're going to expect it to be there. And we're going to see it and we're going to clear it before it ever shows up. Is this too complex? As my partner explained it as I've given it to him, these are the questions that only the future will answer. I've just given you something that's valuable so you won't think you failed, dear ones. Because those of you who have cleared and gone to this place where you say, my Akash is no longer there to irritate me and the benevolence is only there, and suddenly there's something negative. This is the 3D human. In the past, you will say, see, it didn't work. Then you reveal you didn't expect it to work. Then you reveal, and then you reveal. State of mind, how much you cognize these ideas. I'm telling you that there are things on the track in front of you for you and the planet and all these things that will appear, and you will think it's a return to the past, and it isn't. It's something that you're going to have to look at and say, I recognize this. This is old energy. Get away from me. You're not going to go through this again. Give it a name. Put it away. That's coming because you are now covering the same track again that laid those eggs of the Akash that you cleared. Will there come a time, Kryon, when we can clear all of the Akash, including what's on the front of the train? That's an Akashic clearing that would be past, present, and future. That is more complicated. And that's the next step. I'm telling you about this so you won't be surprised. There will be coming processes to help you. But as you understand it, when it comes at you, you won't be confused. You won't think you did something wrong. You won't go back into guilt. And you'll look at it and go, Kryon said it was here. And here it is. And you can laugh. Because it'll disappear as soon as you recognize what it is. It's a past karma that's in front of your train that you cleared. Therefore, it's a phantom. We'll even give it a name. Beware of phantom karma. Beware of phantom Akash. All of that from your past might show up. Just remember this time and call it what it is. This is a complex channel. It's something that you may want to listen to. It's something that you may want to revisit, just to hear these words. I'm about ready to close. Those invisible ones are still here. I want you to feel them for just a moment, and such congratulations to you. If they could put their arms around you, you could feel it. You'd feel so much love. You did it. And they would give you a message and say, don't fear the future. They'd give you a message that say, cast the old fears away. They're not going to come back. It's a brand new path. One that you've never trod before. One without predictions. You're going to lay the track that's never been laid before. That's what it's like. These are the things I have for this day. These are the things for you. And so it is.